Hi, I'm Dr. Barb with Colorado State University Extension 4-H. And today we're planning on doing another STEM activity on gyroscopic forces. Whoa, which I think is totally fun because we're going to be making tops out of strips of paper. So before we get started, you'll need to get some supplies. Attached with the video is our lesson, and it has everything that you need. So if you have any questions, you can always go back to the lesson and look at it. And it includes the supplies that we have right here. So you'll need to get a glue stick and white school glue. You'll need to get 3 round toothpicks. Now you can't use the flat ones, they have to be the round ones. I always think it's easy to have a pencil on hand. You might need it, you might not, but you have it ready to go. A ruler, and it works best if you have a metal ruler, especially if you have craft knife or you have a box cutter, then you can use the metal ruler to make your strips. Or you'll need a pair of scissors. Or, now I think this one's the easiest, excuse me, or you need a paper cutter. Spring. Let's see, and then it helps if you get just a sheet of wax paper so that you can do all your gluing on the wax paper and you can protect your table from getting glue spots and having to clean those up. And then color markers so that you can decorate the paper. And then the last thing you need are pieces of paper. And I'm using just some paper that I need to recycle. So the back side is blank, the front side has the things that I don't need on it. And so what I would do is just use the back side. So I'm going to pause here and let you go pick up all those supplies. When you get back, then we'll get started with making our paper tops. All right, have everything? I'm going to set this aside for now. That's the paper cutter. And the first thing you want to do is take your paper and decorate it. Now, it works best if you use brightly colored markers. So the water-based markers like Crayola or like Sharpies are perfect because they make really bold colors. So I'm going to pause here and while you decorate your 6 pieces of paper, and you can decorate them with big bold designs, you can decorate them with pastel colors, whatever you like. So when you're done coloring your 6 pieces of paper, I'll be here waiting. Okay, got them all done. I'm going to just pretend like I colored mine. So now we need to cut them into paper strips. And I think it works easiest if you do have a paper cutter, but if not, you don't have to worry. If you have the craft knife or the box cutter, make sure that you have a parent there to make sure that you stay safe and do this. And I'm going to show you, I couldn't find my box cutter, and so I'm just going to demonstrate how to do it. And you need to make sure that you have something to protect the table, like an old cardboard box that you can use to keep the table safe, or sometimes there's like a craft cutting pad that you can use. Cutting board won't work as well because it will have gouges in it from chopping up onions and broccoli and things like that. So it needs to be something smoother, but a cardboard box works really well. So I'm going to move this down, and you can see you'll need a pencil and the ruler. And also if you need to cut them by scissors, this is what you have to do. Now we want to make the strips lengthwise. So we're going to make 1/2 inch strips going all the way down. And so you take your ruler and line it up, and then you just mark every 1/2 inch. So right there, I don't know if the camera is catching the pencil marks here, but I'm going to make them all the way down, every 1/2 inch. And you can be doing this with me if this is, there we go. There, and you'll find that it's made all these little marks. It's a little hard to see, but I made them right at the top. And then I'm going to do the same. Now I turned it over. They're 1/2 inch, and they will be lined up 1/2 inch on this side too. So line up, and this ruler, you might make sure that the ruler is in a little bit. It starts the measurement at 0 in about 1/4 inch. So I'm going to make sure that that's over the paper so that it lines up to the 1 inch, and go ahead and make the 1/2 inch marks all the way down here. All the way down. I'm at 3 inches, 3.5, 4, 4.5, and so on. 7, 8, there we go. Just like that. Oops, my camera's a little fuzzy. Let's see if I can get the focus right. Nope, it's not going to do it. Okay. Alrighty, so now if you have a craft knife or a box cutter, you can use your metal ruler, and with the box knives you line it up to the 1/2 inch there, the 1/2 inch there. Then let's pretend this is the box cutter, and underneath is the craft pad or the cardboard box. You press down and just pull it straight across, and it will cut a piece of strip out. If you have scissors, it's just cutting with the scissors. And it's really important to make sure that these are as straight and as even as possible. The straighter they are, the better they are for your top at the end. So I'm just going to cut one of the strips out here, and you can be cutting with me. If you have a paper cutter, I'll show you how to do that. The paper cutter is probably the fastest, but not everybody has a paper cutter at home. So you can do it that way. And you see how careful I was just cutting it out so that it's as straight as I can make it. The third way to do it is with the paper cutter. So let me get the paper cutter up. And on this one, it's already marked with you. I have mine that's 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and so on. And so I've cut off the 1st inch. So my paper is now 8 instead of 8.5. So I'm going to move this to 7.5 inches here, which should line up to the dots that I made. And on this paper cutter, some of them are different. You just pull you press down and pull, and then line for it's at 7.5. So I'm going to move to 7 inches. So go ahead and pause it right here and cut your 6 pieces of paper into these strips. Now what you want to do is make sure that you have one set of a single piece of paper, that you make the second set with 2 pieces of paper, and your third set is with 3 pieces of paper. So I'm going to have all 3 of my pieces for the 1 page, for the 2 pages, and the 3 pages. So go ahead and pause me here, finish cutting your strips out, and then we'll get started with the next step. And I need to get that last strip out. So now I have 17 strips of paper, and it's being fussy. There we go. There we go. So I have my strips of paper. This is a single sheet, so this is going to make one of the tops. We're making 3 tops altogether, each larger than the last. Okay, let me get this out of the way, and I'll show you what we can do next to make our paper tops. Alrighty. Now we're going to need to glue everything together. So at this point, what I'm going to do is pull out my piece of wax paper. And I'm going to pretend like the writing on the one side, that's the part I decorated. I'm just going to pretend that, even though it'd be a terrible way to decorate something because it's like crazy words. And you want to line up your strips of paper because we want to make this really long 1/2 inch wide paper string. And what we're going to do is take our glue stick and make sure it's up enough, and then just glue the ends of it together. So I'm overlapping it about a 1/2 inch. Now trying to make it as straight as I can so that seam is a little wide, but it's, see that it looks like a single piece of paper now. And so you're trying to line it up as best you can. The straighter that it is, the better it is. You might need to take a second or two longer to make sure that it's totally straight. So see, I put that glue down, and then I just line up the two pieces of paper. And press them together. And continue on until you've made one piece of paper into one long paper string, and it's a total of 17 strips of paper out of a single page. So the first one will be 17 pieces of paper taped together, and the second one will be 17 plus 17, which is 34. And the third one will be, oh, this is getting up into that high math, 17 times 3 is 51 pieces of paper. So go ahead and pause me here and get all your strips of paper glued together end to end. It might take a little bit, especially those longer ones, but this is really worth it. It is totally cool when you make your tops. So go ahead and pause, and I'll be here when you're done. All right, got them all glued together. This is my 17 strips of paper taped together. So this is the smallest one. And I'm going to use this one to show you how to make all three of them. I can show you what they're going to look like at the end because I've already made the one that's made out of 3 sheets of paper, and then one that's made out of 2 sheets of paper. So you can see they're different sizes, and then obviously this one weighs more than this one. So what we're going to do is next coil the paper around the toothpick. So let me show you how to do that. First of all, I want to make sure I don't have any tangles in this. So I make sure by pulling it out, and I don't want to make knots or anything. That would be terrible. Okay, not really terrible. It'd just be, yeah, it'd be terrible. Just terrible. There we go. I'm trying to make a knot out of this one. Let me pull this through. There we go. So now I have my 17 piece of paper all ready to go. And I'm going to start with one end. Now I'm going to have the color piece on the back side so that when I roll it, it's going to show that my decorations are going to be on the outer side. And you see I made this just with the scratch paper, and there the decorations on the outside. The blank side is on the inside. Alrighty, so I need to take one of my toothpicks, and I'm going to put it down here to use this as the guide to start curling the paper. I'm going to use my glue stick just to stick the paper together, but there we go. But I need to leave enough room in the center for the toothpick to slip into at the end. So here we go. And you don't have to set the toothpick at this point for your top. All you're doing is using it as a guide for that hole in the center. Okay, can you see how I'm doing that? I just took the glue stick, I rubbed the end, and then I started to curl it around the toothpick. So I now have it there. And what I do is I take and I curl this around, keeping the toothpick in the center. It's a little tough because the toothpick's kind of in the way. For just about 10 turns, and then I can take the toothpick out. But I want to keep the toothpick handy because as I'm rolling up the top, I want to make sure that the toothpick still can slip into there so that I can get my stem and my point of my top ready to go. Okay, so now I have my start, and I'm just going to continue rolling it. Now what I like to do is guide it. So I put one finger, my thumb and my index finger on either side of it, and then I pinch it with this, and then with my, I'm a righty, so my right hand is holding it, and my left hand is going to twirl it. And if you can see down here that the paper is starting to move up. And what I do is I twirl it like that until I get about to the first full 11-inch piece of paper. And then just to make sure that everything stays aligned, I take my glue stick and I just add a little glue right there, and then I curl around it. And that way the paper won't come uncoiling when you get everything done. And then I just keep rolling it over the glue stick. So now, or the glue. So I'm now on the glue, and that's just helped to tack it into place. I keep twirling and twirling. Now this is the smallest one. It took me about 15 minutes or so to get the largest one done, the one that was done with 3 pieces of paper. And so you can do it like when you're watching TV, or you can do it right now and listen to the some music and just keep twirling it up. When you come to the seam, sometimes the piece of paper on the other side is pulled out a little bit. Just make sure that when you curl it in, that it curls under with everything else. So go ahead and pause here, and I will see you when you have those 3 curl rolls ready to go, and I'll show you how to put the point and stem in. Alrighty. As you finish up the coil, now this is my smallest one, I'm on the last sheet of paper. Let me finish coiling it up and showing you how to finish it off. So about every time I started a new piece of the strip, I added just a touch of the glue stick just to help hold it in place. But now for the last inch, I want to make sure that I really cover it well, and I make sure that I cover both sides of the width of the top. And just go ahead and finish curling that in, and I'm going to hold it just for a second to make sure that the glue is dried enough to make it sticky, which it has. And now we have the smallest of our 3 tops. Now when you put the toothpick in, and generally with the smaller one I don't need to check it frequently, but with this larger size, when I 2 or 3 times I just make sure I can get my toothpick in and out, and you can see I do that. So I don't need my glue stick anymore. I'm going to put the top back on so it doesn't dry out, and then I am going to get my white school glue. And what I want to do is I'm going to put a dot of the white school glue right on that little hole, and I'm going to let it drip a little bit. Oop, this is about 2/3 empty. A little bit left in it. I have to wait for it to drip down to the bottom so I can squeeze it out. There we go. There we go. Oh, of course, the top's probably, oh, I think I screwed it on instead of off. There we go. Make sure that's, yep, it had a little glue stuck on there. That's why it didn't go through. There we go. Just a dot of glue right there. And what I'm going to do, twist that back on, and then I'm going to take my toothpick, and I'm just going to gently insert it back and forth on both sides of that little hole, because I'm trying to get some of the white school glue to go inside the hole. And then I'm going to put the toothpick so that it's about 3/4 of an inch on one side and the rest of the toothpick is on the other side. So this part of the top is called the stem, and this part is called the point, and then this part, the paper part, is called the disc. Now what you want to do is set this aside for a little while and let it dry completely. And while you're letting them dry, I'm going to show you. Now I'm working at a table. It's a very old table and it's kind of tilty. So it slopes down. I don't need that anymore, but I'm going to show you how to spin your top. There we go. You ready? So now that's the largest one. And you can see that the paper on it is shifting a little bit. Let me show you. So it's kind of a funnel in there. So one of the things that you can do is, do you think it's going to spin better if you make it into more of a funnel top? Or do you think it's going to spin better as a disc? Which one do you think will spin longer? The smallest, the medium, or the largest? So these are some of the things that you can do. So like the whole point is to play with, not play, do serious science experiments with the tops. So you can ask these questions and then test it out. I'm not going to show you this one at all. But this is, you can get a pretty good spin on those. And then what happens if you make them into these funnels? Don't pull it up too far so that it springs out. But you can make it a pretty good funnel in there. And then when you spin it, you have to make sure your fingers stay out of the way when you spin it. So you can make all kinds of tops. You can do all kinds of experiments with geoscopic forces. It's been a long week. Geoscopic forces. And which one's going to spin longer, the larger or the medium or the smallest? Here's my smallest. If you use a different weight of paper, what about if you make one that's even larger? So these are all kinds of questions that you can ask as you're doing the experiments with your tops. Plus they're fun to play with. All right, so this has been another STEM Fun in our series, and we will see you next time. And I think Miss Stephanie is going to be doing the next one. So I'd like to thank Miss Stephanie and Mr. Andrew for all the help that they provide as we put together these STEM activities for you to do with us. See you next time.